Good afternoon. It is November the 14th, 2024. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, wonderful afternoon. It is in the greater Toronto area, Taylor Swift weekend, number one. So big news in this household. The better half is actually in the city now on our way to the concert, which is going to be a good time. And first of 6 performances from her. I've seen the concert on my TV about 40 times at this point. So if anyone else is joining over the next 6 performances, hope you have fun. It seems like a cultural phenomenon going out there. Welcome to Scouching Live. I am obviously Will Scouch. Welcome to the show. I'm joined today by my producer, AJ Jadero. How are you, mister?
I'm doing good. I was worried that the Leafs were not going to get points on a back-to-back for the first time this year, but they managed to pull it off, even though they got screwed out of at least one goal.
It was a bit of a nail-biter last night. I was tuning in and out. I was watching Survivor, but I was tuning in and out. And, But they pulled it out. They pulled it off. They did the thing. John Tavares, Johnny Toronto, doing the thing at the end.
Johnny Toronto.
Good for him. Anyway, so we got a great show today. We're going to be talking about some of the hot takes, apparently, that have come out from our channel over the last little while in the last couple of videos.
You,
and expand on.
say.
Yeah, just from me. Yeah.
People are not very happy that you didn't even mention Michkov on the Calder Ballot.
Well, we'll get to that. But we got a couple of things like that lined up. We're going to walk through another thing that apparently set the Twitter sphere on fire. I had to mute that conversation. But anyway, we'll get to we'll walk through how my drafted prospect tracker works. And I'm sure the people who were mad at me for not liking Detroit apparently will see. I'm sure they'll be paying attention now. But before we get into the show, I did want to give a quick shout out to Kenzie Lalonde, the first female play-by-play caller on TSN for the Ottawa broadcast in that Toronto game. So shout out to her. She's been climbing the ranks for years. I remember she was doing Q games, I believe, and all kinds of fun stuff. So congrats to her. That's a pretty cool achievement. And I thought she did a great job. I heard some clips from the Ottawa broadcast, and they've been doing it in other countries for years. I know Sweden has female commentators and all kinds of stuff, and definitely did a good job. So kudos to her, and congrats. Hopefully it's the first of many.
Cool to see.
Yeah, it was cool.
But,
all right. So
why'd it have to be a game my team lost? That's all that I care about.
Go Sens go, man. Go Sens go all day. Go Sens go all day. Anyway.
Sad.
Yeah. Oh, well, what can you do? All right. So I guess we start with the big one with Matvei Michkov. So if you don't know, I put out, we're going to start a series of Calder Trophy power rankings where we basically submit a ballot for the Calder Trophy every few weeks or so.
Yep.
I think the idea was like every 10 NHL games.
We'll do 2 to 3 weeks, I think, is what we'll end up.
Yeah.
Whenever we get lazy and can't think of another video for Wednesday, that's the best way to put it.
Yes, that's the one. But yeah, so I submitted my first of many this season, and just for the record, for me at number 5, I put Jackson Blake. At number 4, Maxim Siplikov. Number 3, Lane Hudson. Number 2, Macklin Celebrini. And number 1, Logan Stankoven. And obviously, people caught on immediately that there was no Matvei Michkov or even a mention of Matvei Michkov. And apparently, I had some people even thought I had forgotten about him, which I did not. He was on the list at number 4. And then I went and watched some Maxim Siplikov and went and watched some Jackson Blake and then looked at some of the numbers behind all their games and came down that Michkov was probably the best one that didn't make it. And I think that that's okay. But the thing about Michkov that I noticed when watching him in preparation for this, number 1, I don't think he cracks the top 3 right now of Stankoven, Celebrini, or Hudson. Celebrini's been hurt, but whenever I've seen him with San Jose, he's been excellent, especially for a first-year center in the National Hockey League at 18 years old. Super, super good, promising start to the year. I don't know if he's like Calder number 1 guy, but I did say in the video that the top 3 were all extremely close. Like if Lane Hudson won the Calder, I could see why, especially because he's playing 25 up to 30 minutes on the Montreal Canadiens of 24-25, which is an achievement. But for me, I looked at Maxim Siplikov, who I know is 26, I believe, and the oldest player.
He's older than me.
He's the oldest rookie. Yeah. And he's a rookie in the NHL. But I disagree with the notion that age should factor in a ton just because you're older. I mean, I think he has been very, very effective for the New York Islanders at both ends of the ice. He's one of their better players, net positive at both ends of the ice. For a rookie, that's pretty good. He's been producing pretty well. But for me also, like, I put Jackson Blake in there. He's playing with much worse line mates than a guy like Matvei Michkov. I believe Michkov's been pasted to Couturier and let me see here, Couturier and Travis Konechny. So whereas Jackson Blake's been playing on the fourth line with Will Carrier and Jack Drury, is that who it is? I think it's Jack Drury.
I'll take a look.
But anyway, yeah, but either way, with Jackson Blake, if you look at the deeper numbers too, he has not taken a bad shot this season. He just goes to the net. He finds ways to carve his way into the middle of the ice. He's getting scoring chances. And if you look at his scoring chances scaled per 60 minutes relative to a guy like Matvei Michkov, and all you have to do is look at his shot maps for both of these guys. And Michkov has been taking shots from like below the goal line this year. Like he's still doing the Matvei Michkov thing, which is as soon as I touch the puck in the offensive zone, I'm putting it on net, which is a thing he's done for years. And again, I'm a fan of Matvei Michkov. I like him a lot. He is a good hockey player and he's going to have a great career. And he's been solid for Philadelphia this year. But and I've said it a bunch of times, like there's a very, very, very strong chance that he's on this list many times over the course of this season. It's just a really good class of rookies. And I feel like with Michkov, I mean, his minutes have been going down over the course of the season. I believe Jackson Blake's are going up. I don't know. I just have really, really liked these other five in terms of just playing hockey. And Matvei Michkov is a guy who I think has lessons to learn. I think the team knows that he has lessons to learn. They benched him for, I think Elliot Friedman said it was a bench altercation of some kind, which, you know, fair enough, right? I would figure John Tortorella knows when to sort of step in and, you know, correct behavior in some places. So yeah, I mean, I admit it's a hot take. Sure, it's a hot take. I know he's got points for sure. But in terms of really good NHL hockey players, I think the other five have been better. But Michkov also hasn't been bad. Like if I could submit 6 or 7 names, he would be on it. The other one I was going to put on, and you mentioned this before the show, is Simon Edvinsson, who has been playing with Moritz Seider and doing quite well, especially offensively.
Game-winning goal last night against Pittsburgh in Ottawa, in overtime, not in Ottawa, in overtime.
Well, yeah, it would be weird if Detroit was playing Pittsburgh in Ottawa.
Yeah, it would be.
In Canada, Ontario, baby. But anyway, yeah, but he's the other one that kind of was flirting with this list here and there, especially considering the role that he's playing in Detroit. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good rookies this year. I also feel like right now Stankoven is my number one. I don't know if you would disagree with that.
Nope, I would agree
because he has been excellent with Dallas this year. Major role player, you know, doing the thing and doing it well. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to go on forever about it.
We won't. I'll just give the right now. So it's Tyson Yost, Jack Drury, and Jackson Blake on the fourth line of Carolina. And where Michkov is lined up now is on the third line with Ryan Poehling and Anthony Richard. But I don't think he's been there all season. I think he's been moved around.
Yeah,
Torts likes the line blenders.
Yeah, I'm looking at his on Hockey Viz. Hockey Viz, a very good resource for stuff like this. Yeah, he played with Poehling. Oh, he's barely played with Poehling this year. It was just the last game he did after he got scratched.
Oh, and I think Edvinsson might not be eligible. We gotta check that.
Is he not?
Well, you didn't put him on the ballot anyways, so it's not a.
Yeah, but I thought he didn't play enough games last year to be. It's 25 games, right? Career, 25 games in your career to be. Oh, I think he isn't eligible. He has played 25 going into this season. So I guess he isn't eligible.
Well, still a young player that
yeah, but he's doing well, right?
He's doing well, but
I think he's doing well.
Obviously can't be on a ballot. And you didn't put him there, so you don't look stupid.
Yeah.
At least in that context.
Right. Yeah, I guess it makes sense too, because I didn't even have him in my notes when I was putting this all together. But anyway, makes sense. But
we're just shouting him out for doing all right.
Yeah, sure. He's been good. We'll call it that. But anyway, enough about that. We'll see where we are at in the next couple of weeks. I could easily see Michkov being on the list, but I've really liked Jackson Blake, and I think Siplikov's also been really, really good. Even though he's 26 years old, I think he's been really solid, and I had a low bar for a guy like Siplikov.
Shout out Scott F for putting him on our radar at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, not shutting the hell up about the legend on Long Island, Maxim Siplikov.
And you know what? So far, he's not wrong.
No, he's been very good. He's been very effective and very solid. Okay, so let's move on. Jonathan Lekkerimäki, we're going to talk about him a little bit because we talked about him in the last show as he went into his NHL career starting. He's obviously a player with a lot of hype around him. And we actually both together went and watched his game against Calgary. Was that last night or 2 nights ago?
It was 2 nights ago.
Yeah, so 2 nights ago, he played Calgary, played some decent minutes. I think it was 13 total minutes of ice time. He got some power play time on the top unit.
Yeah.
I've talked a lot. So give me your quick thoughts about Jonathan Lekkerimäki, because I think we both came away with relatively similar impressions of him. But
watching it together helped that for sure right before the stream. But my mind hasn't changed from when I saw him in Abbotsford before his debut game. He's a guy that's not that fast. He's trying, which is good, but plays just going, and Will mentioned this, it's like plays just going right through him. Like it's going right by him. And I noticed an instance again where it's just like he should be going to support a player and he's moving away from where he should be and kind of causing there to not be enough support. And it's not that I think he's doing this intentionally to be not a good player. I just think it's a way he's wired to try and get open, but sometimes he's doing it at the expense of making the right play.
Yeah, I agree. I came away. I mean, I obviously didn't come away negative about him.
No.
I saw a player that I've definitely seen before. A player who is, I think, quicker than he was, but the bar for players like him is going to be extremely high in the NHL. But he was doing the things that you need an NHL player to do, right? He was finishing his checks. He was trying to intercept play off the puck. He was playing hard. He was competitive, but it was just little things. His puck touches could be a little bit, obviously it's his first game and learning what he's capable of doing and what he shouldn't probably try. There was a few instances where you're like, well, that wasn't a great idea, or, not taking a look around, not, maybe trying too much too quickly. On the power play, if he wasn't touching the puck, he got a couple of scoring chances from in front. So he was fine, but I think he's a really interesting case study of why I don't value guys like him as much as their points might indicate, where it's he's a shot guy in terms of producing. And he just didn't get the opportunity to do much of that at 5-on-5 in this game, largely because the other guys on his line were the guys who were having the puck all the time. Guys like JT Miller and Pius Suter and Quinn Hughes, they were on the ice with him a lot. So he just didn't get a ton of puck touches in the first place, but he wasn't really a target very often. He maybe thought he was trying to be one himself, but I don't think he had a shot on goal at 5-on-5. I could be wrong.
I don't remember him getting one, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Yeah, I remember his best chances definitely came on the power play.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure. But he wasn't bad, but he did strike me as exactly what I figured he could be in the NHL, which is a middle six complementary goal scorer. A guy who, if you put him with play drivers, they can get him the puck, he'll blast it into the net for you. And if his give and goes can work a little better than they did, they were okay at times, but he is a little bit easy to knock off pucks. He is small. He's a step behind play a lot of the time. Even just little breakouts from Calgary that were kind of through his zone of influence, and he's just a step behind it and didn't have that step of quickness to close that gap and intercept pucks and knock pucks down. It was just he was fine.
Yeah.
Right. And so I feel it's not like he's not an NHL player. I feel like you play him 20 games and he will find a role, like find a job that makes sense for him. I don't know if that's the plan, but he was good. Like he was an interesting one. I don't know if I would put him in the NHL full time right now. I don't know. Would you, based on that performance?
No, but what I will say, because I think there is a pretty big audience of people who watch prospect channels for fantasy value.
True.
I think right now, if you're looking for a guy, and this might be more in your redraft leagues, if you're looking for a guy because right now he's throwing the body quite a bit. I think that he had like 4 or 5 hits. Maybe they didn't register them as hits because sometimes the NHL does that. Like the hit tracking is not the best, but like he's throwing the body and he's shooting, and he's on the top line, top power play. So he's somebody to look at short term if you need somebody in like deep leagues, or if Vancouver has a good schedule coming up. I think he's a good player to add potentially to your lineup if he's still getting the same deployment. But I wouldn't keep him in the NHL as like a player yet. I think he's got to get better at just making quick decisions, because I think we noticed that there were times where he would go 1-2 step, like he'd handle a second or two too long, and then the option's gone. Instead of just, there's the guy on the entry, get it to him. And just learning where to be supportive. Because I think he's always looking for the pass instead of moving or looking to be in the most threatening offensive position, rather than how can I help make life easier for my teammates sometimes. And that just comes with experience and coaching. But he came out there and he became a lot more of a Rick Tocchet guy than I thought he would be. So
that's pretty cool. Thing. Like that's what I noticed is I'm going, okay, he knows what he's trying to do here. Like he knows what the expectations are, and Rick Tocchet probably has drilled this into the whole team where it's like, we need you at least to try to do these things. And for him, it worked a couple of times. Like he was poking pucks free and finishing checks, and he did an okay job at that. I mean, you kind of have to. He was fine. Like, I don't know. I think that if he's not scoring, it's going to be tough. Like, and I think you're right. Like the pace of his game, the foot speed, it's not enough where he can be a primary carrier of the puck right now.
No.
But if he is a quick thinking, give and go type player, sure, I could see how he could fit, especially playing with guys like JT Miller and even a Pius Suter.
So
like JT Miller can be your possession guy. Like Miller was throwing pucks in front and trying to make plays all game long in the tape that we were seeing. So if Lekkerimäki can just like find some empty space and do some things like that, I feel like the points will come, the options will come, the time will come where he becomes a solid NHL scorer. And I don't think there's, anything wrong with that. And again, like this is why I'm always a little more conservative with projecting players to the NHL. Like Lekkerimäki, people were talking about him as like, is he going to score 50 goals in the NHL someday? Is he going to score 40? Is he going to score 60? It's like, well, you're setting the bar up here.
Not.
But like a 30 goal scorer who can play on your top unit power play as a shot threat and whatever, like, yeah, totally. Second line winger, third line, a good third line winger. Sure. I absolutely could see why that would be the case. But I feel like there's still a little more work to go, a little bit more, in order for him to be put in a position to put the puck in the net. I think there's still a little bit of a ways to go from here, but he was fine. He doesn't not look NHL ready, but he does look like a player where I think if you do want to play him in the NHL, you're going to need to be patient and give him some time and, go over some video with him and work with him to find a role that works for what he is.
And I think they used him in the right way. They put him with the big dogs. They put him on the power play, and he looked good on the power play for sure. Like when he had the extra time and space, because he's not the fastest guy, he was really freaking good. Like those were his best moments, without question.
Yep.
But can you do that on 5-on-5 at 5-on-5? I'm not so sure right now. Currently, I think he'll get there at least a little better. But this is a complimentary player that's going to be there for support to finish plays, and you need guys like that. But as Will has said, it's not the most valuable thing to us, and that's why Will had him ranked a little lower. But still, he's a good hockey player.
Yeah. Did you want to talk a bit about the Axel Sandin-Pellikka thing that came out? If you haven't seen it, we did a whole game walkthrough of Axel Sandin-Pellikka in a game in the Swedish Hockey League and took a look at him. It seemed to go relatively well, you know. It seemed to, so I appreciate the views and appreciate everything.
Time for me.
Well, yeah, we don't need to talk about that, but
but
we got there
out trying to get that video exported.
Yeah, we'll figure out a better workflow for that and make things a little more streamlined for the next one. But there will be another one coming in the near future.
We're gonna do one every Tuesday. That's when they're gonna come out.
I'll re-recording one and another one over the weekend, and so it'll be a good time.
So who's the next one gonna be? Why don't we reveal that now? Unless we don't know.
That's a really good question. But let me see, because usually I go by the guys that are performing highest in my model right now. Who right now are Sam Dickinson, Logan Mailloux, Seamus Casey, Luca Cagnoni. Who else? Michkov, Trevor Connolly, Andrew Crystal. Andrew Crystal's been ridiculous. Artyom Levshinov has got 4 points in 7 games this year. That's kind of fun. So there's a lot of good options that I'm sure people will want to see. So if there's anyone you actually want to see, drop it in the chat and we'll add them to the list and see if we can get them. But I'm not exactly sure who the next one will be.
I'm thinking a forward because we just did a defenseman.
Yeah, that's true. We should alternate. But we'll figure it out. There's a lot of defensemen up here.
Why don't we get into the rankings then?
Yeah. So, Pronman and Sam Cosentino are the new ones from this past week, which is always fun. 2 guys that I would say are pretty tied in with NHL thoughts, NHL scouts, and reflecting kind of what's out there in the ether. And there were some interesting things. So I'm obviously, since it's paywalled, I can't just show you the Athletics list and go through it one by one. But in general, I mean, first thing I'll say is I thought it was pretty funny that Corey Pronman had 32 players ranked in the offseason, and now he's ranked fewer players as the season has gotten started. I don't know. I just find that kind of funny.
So is that a reflection on the draft class just not being all that great?
Maybe, but also it's like, well, you had things to say about 32 guys before, and now you don't have things to say about guys. There's a bunch of guys on that list who aren't even here, who he had pretty high, and I'm going, well, what happened to those guys, right? Like, there's no mention of a guy like Charlie Treadaway or something, like who I believe he had pretty high. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We get what we get. And I disagree with a lot of this. Looking at his list, I don't see things the same way, really. I mean, he's got the same top 4 I do, or at least 4 of my top 5 in Martone, Hagens, Schaefer, and Misa. He's got McQueen in there, and I'm not a big McQueen guy, and we know that. Anton Frundell at 6. I mean, Anton Frundell is very quickly getting a little bit better. Obviously he's been injured a lot. So he's going to take some time to get back, but I'll be keeping a close eye on him. He's lower for me, but I have all the appetite in the world to move him higher by the end of the year. But putting him next to Caleb Desnoyers seems a little bit silly to me. I've seen Desnoyers a bunch, and I think he's super, super smart. And again, it's kind of like that Lekkerimäki thing where it's like, if you can work give and goes really well, then I guess you can play in the NHL, but like, is that really a top 10 value type player? And I'm not quite sure, especially because Desnoyers isn't like the goal scorer like Lekkerimäki is. He's bigger. He's a bit bigger than Lekkerimäki for sure. But just there's a bit of since we were talking about him, there's a bit of an echo there.
Mm-hmm. I see that Victor Eklund's at 11 on this.
Yeah. I mean, his write-up on Victor Eklund, the thing that's funny is like... The thing that's funny to me is reading some of these things. They like gush about some players, and then they're just like he writes about like Victor skates well, his skill level's super high, he competes well, but isn't a natural finisher, which he had a hat trick in a pro game and he has like almost a goal a game. But okay. And then he goes, I see very good offense in Victor. I see also very good defense in Victor Eklund as well. But he goes, I'll need to be sold on whether he has that level of talent. It's like, you're talking about it. Like, what do you want? What could you want from him, right? He mentions he's small. He's 5'11", right? Like, that's not small. He's a little slender, sure, but I feel like he competes more than hard enough to sort of overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I mean, so like that, especially putting him behind guys like Kashan Aitchison and Justin Carbonneau, I think is a little bit silly. Like Kashan Aitchison top 10 to me, that is if you are like the Ottawa Senators would draft Kashan Aitchison in the top 10. I just can't. I tracked a game of Matthew Schaefer finally today, and he was fine, but Kashan Aitchison was on the other team. And like, it's just not my jam. Like the way he plays is just not my style of play. Like there was a shift where Aitchison he plays left side. He cut all the way across the ice, leaving just a chasm of space, left his feet and absolutely crushed a guy in the neutral zone. Nothing bad happened after that. He had some support from a forward who filled the space and picked up the loose puck, but that could have been a very big problem. And there was he got scored on he fell down on a defensive entry, and like it wasn't like he was sliding to block a pass. He just fell down, and he got scored on. And whenever I've seen him, it's just moving the puck with him is a big, big problem. Like top 10, I think is just if you want a guy who's going to go over the boards and hit people, sure. If you value that a ton, he's your guy. But I just haven't seen it with Aitchison personally, especially considering he's almost eligible for last year's draft. I just think that, he'll be a guy who you put out and he'll eat some minutes, but I don't know if the results will be quite there. Like a guy that the Marc Bergevin Montreal Canadiens would have just sprung to pick. But I'm not sure I would, especially putting him ahead of Jackson Smith, who I think is a much better version of what they think Aitchison is. I just think Jackson Smith has so much upside and so much potential, and being a May birthday relative to September 06 is just a lot to work with that I prefer.
So, Will, how do you feel about a goalie being at 13 and Joshua Ravensburg?
I don't care. Like in this year's draft, especially putting him ahead of guys like Brady Martin, who I have not really liked, Jake O'Brien, who I have not necessarily really liked a whole lot, Will Moore, Logan Hensler. Like if you really believe that Joshua Ravensburg is going to be the guy, then great. I can't say you're not right or that he has any lower of a chance of being a really good NHL player than those other guys. I feel like that's a little too early. Like there are guys that he has later, like Radim Murtka, Carter Bear, Cullen Potter, Cameron Schmidt, that I definitely feel there's more certainty about as a potential impact NHLer, because goalies are always a risk. Like how many times have we seen goalies go in the first or second round and then some random Russian guy from the 5th or 6th round comes out of nowhere and is a better option, right?
Who could you be talking about? Random Russian guy going in the 5th round.
Well, there's lots of them, right? Like, some of the usually the first round, you don't see goalies for a good reason, right? Like I also, like, there are other goalies I've seen this year who I've liked more. Joshua Ravensburg let me just look at my goalie ranking right now. Ravensburgen's number 4 for me, but like you could put him at 3. Like I've loved Harenstam in Sweden. I've loved Andrianov in Russia. Andrianov just continues. He's a .954 save percentage this year, facing 35 shots a game. So he's getting a workout every single game. And I feel like with Ivan Kovic and Ravensburgen, like they're not as athletic and not as they don't follow the puck as well as those other two guys. And I just feel like Ravensburgen, it's like he's big and that's how he saves a lot of pucks, right? Like kind of like how I felt about Marcus Hidloff last year out of Sweden, who's having a really good year this year. But I just felt like drafting a goalie because they're big and they make a lot of saves because they're big, it's only half of the puzzle. But for me, I look at a guy like Andrianov and Harenstam, and even maybe a guy like Ivan Kovic, but I feel like Ivan Kovic's more on Ravensburgen's level, and I just like what those guys bring to the table more.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. So with Pronman, I mean, again, I every year we do this song and dance. I just don't really see things the same way. I'm surprised he has a guy like Radim Murtka as low as 19. Who I just feel has so much potential and upside. He's in my top 10, I believe.
And he's big, right? I'm pretty sure
he's 6'5", 6'6", something like that.
So he's humongous big.
Yeah, he's humongous big. So I have Mertka at 8 right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, I guess this is a good time as any to share where I'm at, just so we can compare. So if you have a pen and paper, feel free to write it down, or a notepad document, or a word processor, if you will. But I've got Hagens
to me, and I'll just make something quickly and put it on screen.
Sure.
Bear with me. How many names do you want to do?
Well, how many make sense? How many fit, do you think?
Just send them all, and I'll just send the first round, and I'll figure out what to do from there.
We're improvising. We're lawyers. Okay. Is this gonna work? Let's see. Nope, that didn't work.
Sorry, everybody.
We're gonna get there.
But we might as well show you what Will's got, so we don't have to.
For comparison's sake.
And you can also just have it on screen as a resource you can check.
Yeah. So that's ordered 1 through 30.
Okay.
So I just sent it to you. Okay. But anyway, I'll let you do that while I keep going on this. But the other one too. I mean, I love seeing Kurban Limatov in the first round here. It's hilarious to me. Like he is so raw, but there is sometimes you see good stuff out of him. And he's big and he's got potential, but I just don't think he's captured it yet, even close. Jakub Wozniak, I think he had Wozniak at 5 in the summer, and so to see him at 21 doesn't surprise me. I have him. I don't think I have Wozniak ranked. He's the type of player that I just don't. It doesn't really matter where I put him because he'll just be so low that he'll be drafted before I would take him because I just really don't get behind that nearly as much as a lot of other people do. I just feel like in the NHL, he's going to struggle, and I can see why he's not producing as much as he has in the past this season. Cameron Schmidt at 27. I mean, I've heard the whole spectrum on Cameron Schmidt over the course of this season. We actually have, I think people know that we have a game tape coming on him next week. Michael Meese is coming this week. Subscribers will be getting that tomorrow, and then it'll be public. Next
tomorrow.
Week?
No, tomorrow the Misa
is right. Okay. Yes. Tomorrow it will be public. I keep forgetting what day it is. But Cameron Schmidt, the more and more I see Cameron Schmidt, the more and more I like him. The more and more I hear about him, the more and more I kind of just don't really care. And I kind of just look at how he plays and go, yeah, but what if he works out, right? Like, what if things go right for that guy? Because he could be a ton of fun. I don't know if he's going to be that 5'7", 5'8" Logan Stankoven type where at both ends of the ice you're getting something legitimately really impressive, but a good scorer who crashes and bangs hard enough where you can put him over the boards and he'll finish checks and he's fast enough to make it work. So at 27, where he's the last guy on Pronman's list. I have him quite a bit higher, but it's not the end of the world. It is what it is. So Cameron Schmidt is another good one that I thought, I mean, it's good that he got a shout out, but I would have had him a little higher. The guys that he didn't rank in that 27 that I would probably have put in there, let me just pull it up real fast. Because there were quite a few. Like Malcolm Spence wasn't on there. And I mean, granted, I haven't been a huge fan of Malcolm Spence this year, but he's going to be an NHL player. Like, I feel like he could be a third line power guy who can move the puck okay. But yeah, Malcolm Spence wasn't ranked. I really like Zeb Lindgren, but I'm not surprised he wasn't ranked. Braden Coots, no Adam Banak, no Emil Guite, if that's your jam. No Cameron Reed is surprising to me because I've really liked him. No Bill Zonin. That's also a bit of a surprise. But I don't know. Maybe he just hasn't seen enough of those guys to put them in the list. But I've really enjoyed all those players, and they're pretty high on mine. All right. I guess we can also take a look at the Sportsnet list as well, real fast, because that came out yesterday. So Sam Cosentino put out his. One of my favorite things to read because of his reports that he puts in here. They're just amazing. So he's, I mean, for him, it's, we can be a little more clear. Hagens, Martone, Misa, Schaefer, again, same top 4 as me. McQueen at 5. I think I just have to accept that that's going to happen. But yeah, I don't know about that still. Eklund at 6. Again, I have Eklund pretty high as well. Ryabkin at 7. I mean, I just feel like you have not seen much of Ryabkin this year because he has been very bad. Just straight up not good. And so I don't know what's going on there. Obviously, I'm not jumping off the boat, but he's not in my first round, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not in the first round for a lot of NHL teams at the end of the year. Anton Frundell, Jake O'Brien, and Caleb Desnoyers at 9 and 10 is a little surprising to me, but also not. Like, they're just really smart, which works, I guess. He's also got Ravensburgen in the middle of the first round. So, like, it seems like the echoes here are kind of pretty obvious, right? Like, they're not too dissimilar from one another. And I feel like these guys are the ones that are a little more tied in. Like, it's pretty fair to assume that the majority of these players are the majority players that the NHL might be actually looking at in the first round. The one that was hilarious to me was putting Simon Wang at 32. I just think that that is wild to put an OJHL player in the top 32. Just on principle, right? To me, that's like the Dean Letourneau in the first round thing. It's like, you're going to put a Canadian high school player in the first round of an NHL draft. Okay, but that's a risk, right? Simon Wang is a extremely big, extremely skilled player, or maybe not extremely, but a really big, good skater, who has potential, but the barometer in the OJHL, like, I remember I tracked one game of him. He played a ton. He wasn't great. And that league is awful. Like, the OJHL, in terms of NHL draft quality, it's just not it. Like, no offense to the players of the league or the teams or anything, but relative to the NHL, I mean, the list of players that have come out of the OJHL as draft eligibles and gone to the NHL is really, really small. And Wang might be the next one. I can't say he won't be, but first round to me is a little bit much. Like, he's on my watch list. I think he's intriguing. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think he'll leave his team and go to the OHL, simply because his mom owns the team he plays for. So I don't know if he'll leave. Maybe he will. I don't know. But I feel like that will be a very interesting thing to see, is him in the OHL. And then maybe I'd have more time for it. It's just, I will not look at an OHL player, even if they're, looking, even if they're a point and a half a game, right? Like, I think the guys who have been really, really productive, like Ayrton Martino as a D-1 was the leading scorer one year. His brother Giacomo, I believe, was a leading scorer. I'm trying to think of the other ones from the past. Like Trevor Hoskin got drafted out of the OJHL last year, but he was 20 and he's a long shot, I would say. So to me, first round is just kind of hilarious, but I respect it. You're putting yourself out there, I guess. And if NHL teams see that out of him and believe it, then fine. And I also have his game here in the OJHL in December penciled in my calendar. So I'll be in the rink to see him here, which will be very, very fun. So I can't wait for that. He's also got Nathan Beam in the 28th overall. I don't know about this one, but he writes about Nathan Beam that he's got a Kyle Connor vibe to his game, in that he is an upright skater who's aware of his surroundings with a deceptive release like Kyle Connor and doesn't need a lot of time off to get a heavy shot off. I just disagree with that. I think Nathan Beam is that sort of Jake O'Brien, Caleb Desnoyers type, where it's just, you're smart, you move the puck decently well. I get that he has 13 goals this season. I just don't, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but he just strikes me as a guy who is really, really hard to project to the NHL as he is right now. Playing a ton of minutes. I don't know. I just haven't really seen that out of him. But we'll see. I don't know. He got off to a ripping hot start this year. He had a 6-point game not too long ago against a 6-point game and a 6-3 win. That's pretty wild. But yeah, I don't know. I just haven't really seen that level out of him. But maybe a later round guy, like second, third, fourth round guy. Sure, I could see it. But I just feel like he's very productive and hard to project. But yeah, I mean, that kind of covers it a lot of kind of what I wanted to go over with Cosentino. He's got Ivan Kovic in the first round. Banak is still in the first round. That to me is becoming less and less of a possibility, but I don't want to doubt him too much because I know what I've seen out of him. But the USHL adjustment has been tough. Cameron Reed is in here. He's been great this year. So yeah, good player, good players, love the game, good sport. Yeah. So,
and I'm still working on this, but
it's okay. I mean, I can also screen share if that's easier, but it also makes my face look like I'm peering through a door.
I'm not that far away. I'm just doing a top 20 because I had something set up similar, and I'll put it over in a second. It's not that far away from being done.
Okay, so then what we do is just take a quick look at basically my if you haven't seen it, I usually every so often, like every month, post what my database says are the top prospect pipelines in the NHL right now, with my own guys that I would have selected with Toronto's picks mixed in there. So for the record, as of today, my team is sitting at 5th in the league, but the way that it is calculated, and I feel like people need to understand this. Number one, I am extremely open about the fact that data in prospect work is really sketchy no matter what you do. No matter how much you clean it, no matter how much you adjust for certain things, there's going to be cases where it doesn't work. It just will straight up not work. So there's that, number one. Number two, the way that it is ordered, it is, let me just double check the math here. So it's not that complicated, but it is my NHLE score for players is an age, position, and league adjusted measure of their production. So there's lots of conversion factors out there for different league qualities. I've tweaked them myself using some data on my own. And so basically what this metric takes into account is the average in the NHL team's scouting pipeline of all of their players and all of their scores, subtracting the average league-wide from that and dividing that by the standard deviation of the league as a whole around that average. And then you multiply that by the average league strength of that team's pipeline. It's not that complicated, and it's not meant to be a gospel, right? But in general, I think it spits out how I generally feel about, or how generally these teams are looking, right? Seattle at number 1, San Jose at number 2, Anaheim, then Montreal, then me, Winnipeg, Nashville, Buffalo, LA, Calgary. That's your top 10. Washington, if you want 10 NHL teams. But like, the only thing is that I have trouble finding a way to value teams that have fewer players with high scores and low standard deviations, right? Like Winnipeg is up there. And I mean, their standard deviation is pretty high. So they have a pretty wide range of their 21 players, but the really, really good ones are really, really good. So it's tough. It's tough to get it right, but a lot of Red Wings fans came at me for like, and they do this every time because the Red Wings don't appear very high on here. And I had people saying like, well, what about the good players in the system? It's like, well, okay, but even if I weighed the good players in the system more heavily than the not so good ones, they would still be behind teams like Seattle, San Jose, Anaheim, Montreal. Who else is in here? Utah even has some good ones. Vegas, Philadelphia, Winnipeg. Like, it would probably vault San Jose to the top. Detroit would do a little better. I believe their best performer in my model right now is, I mean, it's a guy who's played one game, but Axel Sandin Pellikka is there as well. He's been good, very good, one of the better performers on the list. But yeah, so essentially what it is just taking a look at the average scores amongst the entire pipelines and everything. So in Detroit's case, they have a lot of players. They've had a lot of draft picks over the last few years. There are 35 skaters on this list right now. And how many of them are below my average? 26 of their 35 players are below the average score league-wide, right? So it doesn't it doesn't matter how good of a season guys like Dmitry Chelnikov, Axel Sandy Pellikka, Simon Edvinsson, all these guys are above average. But the rest of the picture is way further down the line. You've got guys in here like John Whipple, who has no production this year, Jack Felon, who has no production this year, Emil Viro, no production, Owen Mellenbacher, Keenan Draper has 2 goals in 9 games, and at 22 years old, that's not going to score very well. Kevin Bicker, 12 pro games in Germany, 1 point. There's a lot of Brady Cleveland, 8 games with Colorado College, 1 point. Kyle LeCoin, Anton Johansson, all single point production players who, unfortunately, that's all I can really work off of. But as an aggregate, I think it does capture pretty well the scale at which teams are dealing with their young players. So I'm sorry that like averages are difficult. But at the end of the day, there are teams out there that have a lot of players that are really moving the needle in the positive direction. A team like Seattle has the benefit of a bit of a softer level of competition. A lot of their best performers are CHL, older CHL players like Caden Price, Lucas Dragicevic. Who else is in here? Carson Raykopf is doing really well in the model. Clark Caswell is doing extremely well, but that's no surprise to me because I love Clark Caswell and he's my boy. So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of moving parts here. And if your team has a lot of draft picks and a lot of them aren't working out, it doesn't matter how good your best players are going to be, right? Your best players will pull your averages up, but if 26 of your 35 are below the average, you're not going to score very well. And your standard deviation is going to be really high. So you're also going to score not very well there either. So that's kind of really all I wanted to say on that. It's not meant to be gospel, obviously. And I've heard this thing from Ottawa fans too over the years. And Ottawa is the second worst in the model across the league. And Carter Yakimchuk has twice the score of the next highest guy. And the next highest guy is playing junior hockey in Finland. Wallenius, Ostapchuk, Hamara, Blake Montgomery are the only above average guys for Ottawa outside of Yakimchuk. And so when I looked at the Ottawa Senators over the years, it's like people were coming at me for not really liking their players. And it's like, well, you should be getting the guys like Stützle and Sanderson at those picks. Like if you miss with a top 5 pick, I don't know what to tell you. But there's more to it than that, right? They had a ton of picks. They've used a ton of picks. They've traded a lot of picks. But when you look at how things are shaking out for them, like I'm looking at their guys now, right? Jorian Donovan, Tyler Boucher, Tyler Clevin is in the NHL, but he's got 1 point. Jake Chason, Philip Nordberg, Cameron O'Neill, Nicholas Van Tassel, Gabriel Eliasson, Tyson Dick, even Oliver Johansson, Theo Wahlberg. Like these guys are all scoring 2, 3, 4 points so far this season, sometimes 0, right? So like there's literally no way I can slice it unless I just go, well, this player was drafted high, therefore they should be valued more, which is nonsense. So to me, this is just the math behind it. It's not necessarily something I agree with all the time. But it also is fun because it gets a ton of engagement and makes people absolutely mad. I got called the R slur on Twitter for the first time ever, which was a badge of honor for me. Real fun stuff. So and I've been doing it for years. I feel pretty good about it. The other thing too is if you missed any of the recaps from this year, my definition of a prospect seems to be lost to people sometimes. Like I had a couple of Chicago fans going, how in the hell is Chicago not at number 1? We have Connor Bedard, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, Connor Bedard's not a prospect anymore.
He is not.
He is an NHL player, right? Like the point is to look at your pipeline, not what's at the end of the pipeline, right? So Levshinov, Nazar, Rinzel, and Lardis, and Boisvert, and Colton Dock, Samuel Savoie, Ty Henry, AJ Spellacy, Jack Pridham, Yuri Felkman, all those guys are above average. Alex Ferrand, like those are above average scores right now. But they also, again, Chicago has drafted a lot, and there are a lot of guys pulling down the average, right? Even Oliver Moore, he's got 5 points in 10 games this year. He's pulling things down. But yeah, I mean, when you draft a lot and a lot of players are not really performing well because, in my opinion, they weren't amazing picks in the first place, it's not gonna make you look awesome, even if you have an Artyom Levshinov at the top of the pyramid. And again, if I made it so that it favored teams that had really good performers at the top, then a lot of really good performers would end up not making things much better for your team. I've tried tinkering with doing that. It doesn't change a whole lot, honestly. And that's what standard deviation is for, right? Like that's what that idea is for. So anyway, it looks like AJ, you've got this little graphic
yes, I do.
all set up.
I'm gonna fade it in. I sent it to you just so you could make sure it doesn't look dumb, and I didn't put anybody in the wrong spot.
Nope, looks good to me.
Okay, I'll fade it in then.
Yeah, fade it in. So this is the top 20 for me right now, as of this moment. Just waiting for it to show up on the stream window here. Let me take a look. Anyway, so for me, there it is. Okay. So for me, I've got James Haggins, Michael Misa, Porter Martone, Victor Eklund, and Matthew Schaefer all in a group together. I will be honest, I was a little underwhelmed with Matthew Schaefer today. He was very good in the Holinka tournament this season. Obviously getting sick and not playing for a while isn't amazing. I still feel like of that group, he's the number 5 out of 5. And I honestly was a little bit underwhelmed. Like he was fine. Quietly effective. He had a bit of skill and creativity. He got a ton of scoring chances though. Like they were giving him the puck a ton. He was putting himself in scoring chances, but then I kind of thought back and went, if I watched Matthew Schaefer next, like I just saw Sam Dickinson play in Guelph, and Sam Dickinson looks great. Like in the OHL, he looks like a dominant defenseman. And I saw flashes of that last year with Dickinson. And I just, especially carrying the puck, I did not really see the same thing with Schaefer right now. And I know that this might be a hot take to people. I could see a world where he ends up a little lower on my list than this, but he does have the advantage of being very young, and you do see a lot of good instincts and a lot of good potential there. But I've loved Victor Eklund. I've loved Porter Martone. I adore Michael Misa, and James Haggins has been great as well. My second group of Jackson Smith, Cullen Potter, Radim Murtka, and Carter Bear, I've just loved all these guys. The raw potential with these guys is huge to me. Smith is big, rangy, skilled, does a lot of things well, but just doesn't really process the game as well as you would like. But I feel like it's better than it was last year. Cullen Potter, I just think the upside is there. Like just if he hits, the fact that he's 17 playing in the NCAA, like, you know, put some respect on that a little bit. He's playing some big minutes for Arizona State. Like it's no joke. Radim Murtka, I think, is just really solid. I can't wait to see him in the WHL. I haven't yet, but we'll see. And Carter Bear, every time I watch him, I go, yeah, he does the thing real good. I like this guy. And then my third group to end the top 20. I mean, I'm still very optimistic about LJ Mooney. He's tons of fun, but obviously very injured. Cameron Schmidt, I love, tons of fun as well. I mean, over a goal a game, but the fact that he has 10 assists, like that shouldn't be lost on people. Lyndon Lakovic, you know, I've liked him as well. Just a really smart, complimentary guy. Eric Nilsson.
Get it wrong. I missed.
Did you?
I missed Schmidt.
Oh, whoopsie poops.
Oops.
Well, idiot, you're fired.
Yep.
Well, Schmidt is in there after LJ Mooney and before Lyndon Lakovic. Eric Nilsson, Roger McQueen, Cole Reshny, all just really good players who are smart and do a lot of things well. Same thing with Anton Frondel, Logan Hensler, Malcolm Spence, Zeb Lindgren, and Braden Coots is the top 20. So yeah, I mean, I don't really. It's still very, very mushy to me. There's a lot of moving parts this season to me. It's a tricky year, I think. I think there's a lot of potential role players out there. So we'll see what happens, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. But again, I split these guys into tiers, and that third tier especially is so close. And the line between the second and the third one is not very strong, really. But the top 5, I think, looks really, really good this season, at least for me. What is happening here? Anyway, I'll figure that out later. So that kind of does it for that. Was there anything else we wanted to cover today?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it.
I can save my Ovi rant for another day.
I mean, if you want to go on an Ovechkin rant.
I don't need to.
AJ loves Alex Ovechkin.
No, I don't. Overrated player.
We should have you on. We should have you on with Joel Henderson. You guys can sass Alex Ovechkin for 2 straight hours if you want. That would be a fun one.
Great.
I could mediate. It'd be like a debate, but both sides the same debate.
We both agree that we don't like him.
Exactly.
And
it'd be fun.
I'll preface this right now. He was a very good player, but he has been bad for many, many years. And people still treat him like he is a very, very good player when he is just not.
He's got goals. He's got goals and goals and goals.
He's a complimentary finisher at this point in his career, but he's trying to finish a race.
That's true. I mean, they're really shoveling it at him. Just get him there. And I think he will at this point. Yeah. For a while, I didn't think he would, but they just keep giving him opportunities. And it just seems like it's like the project of the year to get him as many goals as physically possible.
I've got an idea. We'll release it after he hits the milestone. That's when we'll do it. So it's like, so I look like a real idiot. And people,
like a real jerk.
And people comment a ton on it. That's what we'll do. We'll save it for then.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well then I guess we can get to questions. So let's take a look at what we got here.
You have one more obligation before we get to questions. Ad read. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's true. I was hoping I don't know. I forgot, honestly. I'm a bad self-promoter, okay? So anyway, you're watching Scouching Live. If you weren't aware, you are, or you're listening to it. We're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link below in the description or scan the QR code in the video window, and we get a small kickback on anything you buy in the store with that link. We're also brought to you by Puck Preps Hockey for all of your NCAA and CHL prospect needs. Of course, with all the changes that are happening, going to be a lot more of a magnifying glass on the CHL. So you can go there and get all your fill with some very, very smart people over there writing, including myself. I just finished covering the U17 challenge with a few other intelligent folks, and it was a lot of fun. Also, Fractal Hockey Consulting, which is my business for hand-tracked targeted player analysis and recruitment packages for the NCAA, Europe, and beyond, with solutions for any organization's needs on both the hockey and financial side. And of course, Scouching.ca, where you can get access to our Discord server with tons of exclusive prospect data, insights into track data, and subscriber-only written content. Shout out David Phillips. David Phillips actually wrote a guest article for goaltenders at the World Junior Championships this year. So if you're a subscriber, you have access to that now in either feed, whether you're a supporter or a partner. So you can check that out. It will be public at a later date, but it turned out really well. And so thank you to David. Hopefully it's the first of many.
Yeah. Focus your energy on writing good articles instead of sending Will on wild goose chases.
Exactly. I've stopped.
I don't blame you.
I've stopped, to be honest. And also you can check out Scouchwear.com, where you can get all of our merch, like sweaters, stickers, and tons of embroidered t-shirts. And now we have beanies, which is kind of fun. And I'll be actually working with another designer in the near future on some cool new designs as well. So you can look forward to those.
Buy our merch, like the video, subscribe, everybody, please.
Yes. Or you can just go to Buy Me a Coffee and give us money directly. You could do that too.
Yes, give us $1 million is what we always ask for.
All the links, give us $1 million and we'll be happy forever. So you can check out all those links in the description. And so I guess now we can get to questions.
But seriously, if you could, kindly, please like the video because it does help us. That's all. That's all I'll add. And now
it helps AJ sleep at night.
It does. Actually, it has no impact on it. I'll sleep however, depending on if I'm mad or calm. Depending on how the Leafs perform. That's usually how my sleep goes.
It's your whole personality.
Absolutely. That's all I am. Just a big old Leafs stan. Yeah. I like the Leafs more than I like hockey. But anyways, let's get into the chat.
Look at my surroundings by default. It's a Leaf fan's paradise in here.
And a Buddhist.
And a Buddha. Yeah, this guy up here. Yeah, he's my little mascot. My mom actually bought that for me when I was a teenager, so always hung on to it.
My mom has bought a ton of Buddhas. There are plenty in my house as well.
Right on. Well,
and she's not a Buddhist. She just likes it.
He's just so jolly. He's just so happy. Sometimes I rub his tummy for good luck. It's a good time. I'm half joking. But I have done that. Just for funsies. and also to get the dust off of them because it gets dusty. Anyway, so let's take a look here at some of the cues. Obviously, you can drop your questions in the chat, and we will get to them when we get to them. So, oh my goodness, right off the bat, someone asks about a Polish kid, Bartłomiej Stolarski, playing, he's a D+1 playing in the second division in Poland. I will say, and I'm not lying, I am somewhat familiar with the Polish under-18 team from last year. And I will also say that Poland is actually a team that, I mean, they were in the World Championships last year, but statistically speaking, the Polish Pro League is one of the more underrated leagues in Europe. And Poland actually is doing better in hockey now than in many years past. There's a Polish kid playing in the WHL right now who went to the World Championships last year. I can't remember what team he's on, but let me just see. I think his last name is Macias. Yeah, he's playing for Prince Albert. That's the one. So Bartłomiej Stolarski, I have not really seen that much of, I don't think. Maybe I have, because I did watch a few Polish guys last year, and the one that stuck out that almost made my list at the end of the year on the watch list was Kasper Prokopiak, who is playing top division now with 4 points in 17 games in the Polish Pro League this year. He's one that I want to check out again this year because I have liked him. But I felt like, I mean, he's 6'5", 185 pounds, so he's a string bean boy. But I do feel like he has sort of a good amount of skill, a pretty good shot, and he gets around okay. Like, he does a lot of things pretty well that I wanted to take a closer look at, so I'll have to do that again. But that's the guy that I've been curious about. But I'll have to check out this Polish team as well, because Poland is making waves, it seems, at least in my opinion.
Poland canned into space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For all the history nerds out there.
Yep. That's funny. Okay. Which players did you like from the U17s? Yes, the thing I covered that I got to pretend I actually paid attention to. No, I'm kidding. So I saw everybody except the Czechs at least once. So, and I was mostly focusing on North America because that's what Puck Preps focuses on. I thought Landon DuPont was pretty up and down. I thought he was okay. He had good moments and he had some not so good moments. I really liked Adam Valentini, but the guy who I loved the most was Mathis Preston, who I have become a huge fan of over the course of this season. Spokane Chiefs kid. I'll also give a shout out to some US kids, Victor Plant, Lucas Zajic or whatever. Sammy Nelson was also good for the States. Keaton Verhoff was great for Canada. Who was the guy? Oh, Bosse Major was really good on Sweden as well. I liked him, and he's a 2027 draft kid. He's a December 08, so there's that. So it's him and Landon DuPont. Actually, I think there probably was more guys than that for 2027, but Sammy Nelson's a 2028. He was really good. Jackson Jacobson's a 2027. Sorry, Jackson Jacobson a 2027. He was pretty good. Vilgot Liden was also pretty good for Sweden. He didn't score a ton, but he was pretty decent. What's his name? Canada had some good goaltenders. Carter Essler, I thought, played pretty well.
We need good goaltenders.
He was pretty decent. I mean, I don't know if he's like amazing, but he was good for the tournament. Carter Hicks in Canada, I also liked quite a bit as the tournament went on. It was good though. I mean, Canada, like, just the Canadian crop, it's so good now. Ryan Lynn also was really good. Like, the US team was not great. They had a pretty good top unit. Those Plant and Mutrin and Zajic were pretty good together. But there just wasn't much else other than that. Whereas Canada is right now at this age just king. They are so good. And even the games that they played against the US and Sweden were like, the game against Sweden for one of the Canadian teams I watched, it was closer than the 6-3 final score for sure, but Sweden just kind of fell apart in the third period. And Canada, there were two Canadian teams. So Canada had Team A and Team B. Sweden brought the best of the best. And the Canadian A or B, whatever you want to say. They split them up, handily beat them by the time the game was over. So, and they deserved it. I really felt like Canada just had the better teams all around. Pierce Mabuyi was another one I really liked. Cruz Paveo. There were just so many guys on Canada that I really, really enjoyed watching. Whereas in Sweden and the States, it was, to me, a lot of just, these guys are kind of interesting, here and there. It's like, oh, okay, this guy, I kind of dig this guy. I kind of dig this guy. I kind of dig this guy. Sure. But I mean, I don't know. But the MVP for me, from what I saw, was Mathis Preston. That guy rocks. He rules. He rocks and rules. So yeah, that's where I came down on that. Fun fact of the day: VT Miettinen spent 4 years at St. Cloud State and never got penalized once. That is a pretty crazy fact.
That is pretty awesome.
I'm not surprised, because VT Miettinen is a guy who skates around and shoots pucks really good. So didn't really notice much of a physical edge from him, but that's pretty wild. No penalties is pretty crazy. Alexis Gendron got 2 more goals. Did he really? Because I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, because he's my boy. Yeah, 5 goals in 6 games in the AHL this year. Not bad for a 20-year-old. He's about to turn 21 in December. For the 220th overall pick in 2022, who was drafted because his dad is a scout for Philadelphia. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I actually shout out to oh my God, now it's slipping my mind, of course, the show I was on with Philadelphia guys the other night. I'm just going to find out. Yeah. So I was on the last episode of Hosers with Broad Street Hockey, which is a lovely trio of Philly fans located in Ontario. It was a lot of fun. They gave me some free rope to talk about whoever I wanted to talk about at the end, and Alexis Gendron was the guy I wanted to bring up. So I'm glad that he continues to do well.
Did you explain to them why you didn't have Michkov on your Calder ballot?
No, they didn't know. They didn't know this time. But they still like me, it seems. They still are fans.
They haven't caught wind of your slander. They haven't caught wind.
Yeah, they haven't yet. They will now. They certainly will now. No, but good guys, good times. It was a fun show to be a part of, and hope they have me on again. But yeah, so good for Alexis Gendron. The guy, he had 7 shots. Oh my God. Oh God. Team Scouching, baby. Let's go. Who are your biggest boom or bust guys this year? Cam Schmidt for sure. Radim Murka maybe, but I like Radim Murka a lot.
He'll still play. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's
Roger
so
McQueen,
big that he'll play. They won't.
I think
care.
Roger McQueen has a long way to go, I think, to become what people think he is. But I see the appeal of why NHL people are like, yeah, but what could he be?
But he'll also still play because he's huge.
Yeah, he'll play. Yeah.
At the end of the day,
these guys will play.
They'll still play. It's like, who's the smallest guy that they won't play, really, I think, is the not to completely undercut what you're saying.
No, you're right.
I think from a potential standpoint, it's like they'll either hit or they'll fizzle out is what you mean. But Cam Schmidt, I think, is the best example of that, just based on looking at stature. Because if you're huge, you're going to play. It does not matter. Yanni Hakanpää played for the Toronto Maple Leafs last night, okay?
Whoa.
Yanni Hakanpää.
And he's making over like $1 million.
This is why Timothy Liljegren had to leave.
Yep.
I want to die. Not actually. Don't force that upon me. But
no,
please.
I won't. I need you around. Adam Banach would probably be another one I'd throw out there. I'd say Adam Banach has a lot of potential, but has kind of struggled this year when I've seen him. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't really been the dominant force in the USHL I kind of thought he would be. But yeah, those guys are going to either work out or it's going to be tough.
Is there a guy that you could say is similar to Lekkerimäki in terms of because with Schmidt, having seen a little bit of him, very limited, he's at least rambunctious. Like he goes... Mm-hmm. So there might be some energy potential there. Is there a guy that's more just, I shoot the puck and that's my thing, that you could put under this category?
That's a good question.
Because I think that would also
Justin Carbonneau. Honestly, Justin Carbonneau might be a better answer for this question, because he is a guy who is whenever I've seen him, he's one of those give me the puck in the offensive zone and I'll do the rest type guys.
Okay.
One-on-one skill, but I feel like he's strong enough to make it work. Like Scott Wheeler mentioned how strong he is, and I feel like that's true, but I just don't know if he'll be he'll be that level of NHL player. But I don't think there's a lot of these just like all shot all the time guys. LJ Mooney, boom or bust. Like I feel like he's a guy who it's either going to be a ton of fun to watch him in the NHL. He's rambunctious though. He's not that.
But he's small, to be fair.
He is as small as it gets. He is a child.
They'll throw him out if he's not producing because what he's 5'7" is what you were saying?
5'6".
5'6".
Yeah. He's like 5'6", 130 pounds.
What?
Something like that.
So there's a guy who's eligible for the draft who's smaller than me physically. Like that.
Yeah, probably.
That has never happened.
5'6", 145. That's what he's listed at.
Yeah, I think I even weigh more than him.
I trust him. I'm not betting against him the way he plays. I'm not betting against it. It's gonna be sick.
I hope he works out, man. Like,
yeah. The injury doesn't help. That sucks. That sucks big
his
time.
name is Lil John, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. A couple of weeks ago, I asked about the Penguins, oh boy, and where they stood in the lottery. You suggested you thought they would be too good to pick near the top. Would you like to revise that sentiment? Yeah, I think so. They have been not good. Where have the Penguins been? I mean,
I have the standings up right now.
Yeah, how far are they from the bottom here?
Well,
it's bad. Yeah, it's bad.
It's not great.
Montreal is the worst team in the Eastern Conference. But if Montreal wins both of their next games to make up that 2 games in hand, they are better than the Penguins. The Penguins have lost 4 of their last 5. I don't think they've looked like it. It's just so hard. Like, and we talked about the Penguins in the last show about how it. I don't know. What do you do, right? And we even talked about
Lars Eller to Washington.
And we talked about it on the Philadelphia show last night about Pittsburgh and like, what do you do from here? And we didn't really know. And it seems like from what Elliot Friedman is writing about in 32 Thoughts, like they're still trying to go for it. Like it seems like the attitude from ownership is they're not done. Like they think that there's road ahead, because it's like they can't trade Malkin and he won't accept a trade. They can't trade Letang. And they don't really have much else. So and Carlson has a no move. Mm-hmm. So it's like you have to get these guys to waive their no move clauses, which are they gonna? I don't know. And even if they do, like, what are you getting for a Chris Letang at this point, right? Like, what are you getting
Not
for an
much.
Erik Karlsson at this point?
Probably have to give up stuff to get rid of them, honestly, because when you look at it from a money perspective, is the contract they're making worth having them on your team at that cap hit? And I think the answer is no for both of those guys. But what I will say, I think you just go through the motions because at some level, I hate the idea of full rebuild. And I've said this before. I hate the idea of full rebuild. I think it's a surefire way to shoot yourself in the foot. Look at the Buffalo Sabres. They haven't been in the playoffs for 13 years because it is just constant not trying to win, like for a long time. And then when they tried to win, they failed spectacularly, like really, really spectacularly. So I think you keep the older guys around and you just go through the motions and you don't trade away your picks. You just draft guys and you slowly restock and keep trying to win. Yep. You should never stop trying to win. Even if you're not that good, I really firmly believe you should try because you got to have a culture where we're trying to accomplish something. And if you end up with a lottery pick, okay, maybe that becomes something better because of the lottery. And you just roll with those punches and keep trying to win. You have Crosby. Maybe this thing lasts 3-4 years. I don't think they're going to win with this core again at this point.
No.
But they might be on their way out as a new, young, really good group's coming in, and you have that leadership group there to help shepherd the next generation. And that's kind of the way I think they should approach it.
I agree. It is. I also just noticed while you were talking, they are the only team in the league that has given up 70 or more goals this year. The only team that has scored more than 70 goals this year is Winnipeg. So they're on like that. They're the inverse Winnipeg right now. They've scored a little more than Winnipeg's been scored on.
Well, it's because they traded for Rutger McGroarty.
That's it. They did it. That's it.
That's what caused this cataclysm.
Yeah, that's what caused all of this. No. But
it's just funny to say.
But again, what I was talking about on the show with the guys in Philadelphia the other night was like, I've said this on the show too. It's like, I'm fascinated by what they're going to do here. Like, Kyle Dubas took this job. Like, they were talking about maybe Kyle Dubas losing his job, but I kind of was like, well, I feel like that he wouldn't have taken this job if he didn't sit with ownership and go, look, I'll play ball. I'll try to win with this group, but don't get rid of me if it doesn't work, because it's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what they're going to do here, right? Like, if they try to keep winning, it'll be very interesting to see how that goes, because it seems like they're going to finish at the bottom of the standings, whether they want to or not. And then if they do try to win, they're still so heavily weighed towards these key players with no move clauses that are old. And they're gonna still be there.
Mm-hmm.
So how are they going to make that team better from here? I think, I don't know. But to answer the question, yes. I mean, giving up 6 goals in the first period to the Dallas Stars is like a gut punch and a half. But yeah, I mean, I really do like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. We'll see, but they've got Wes Clark running the scouting department now. They've got a whole new lease on life, and we'll see what they pull out of their hat going forward. But I don't know.
To me,
it's tough.
It doesn't look like the forward group looks fine. Like, it looks like a good forward group for the most part. If they still had Eller, it would be better, but he's not there anymore. Like, to me, it just screams defense and goaltending issues. Now, I haven't looked at them extensively, so this is just me kind of guessing, but I know a lot of these players are pretty good, at least who play forward for this team. Like,
yeah,
Anthony Beauvillier, Sidney Crosby, Ricard Raquel, that should be fine. Like, it's not amazing, but it should be fine. And Sid's obviously amazing. Malkin, Rust, Bunting, solid. Right? Like, Drew O'Connor, Blake Lizotte, now Sam Poulin's there. I don't know how good he is, but like, I just can't speak on it. But it's like, the forward group's fine to me.
Yeah.
Erik Karlsson's a really bad defender. Matt Grzelcyk's playing top pair with Chris Letang. They have Ryan Graves on the team, which is not great. So like, I think a lot of it is probably defending and goaltending. But again, I'm not fully sure about the goaltending thing, but defense for sure. Defense for sure is not good.
Yeah, I agree. It's not great. I think they're facing like 37 shots a night or something. Like, Joel Blomqvist has like a 3.4 goals against average, but a 906 save percentage or something. Like, talk about throwing a kid to the wolves. Jesus.
So it's probably just defense for the most part.
It's rough. It's rough. Edvinsson and Seider are our only good defensemen. And yes, Edvinsson is not eligible for the Calder, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that.
We mentioned it actually before we went live, you and I, when we were talking about because I made the comment that Jonathan Lekkerimäki looks like Simon Edvinsson's little brother, like facial structure.
Yeah.
Like, they look very similar to me. And
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, so I think those are Detroit's only two good defensemen are Seider and Edvinsson. So funny that you bring it up.
Yeah. Please talk about the Montreal Canadiens passing on Frank Nazar and Jonathan Lekkerimäki and 2 top 40 picks in 2023 for Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook. I mean, 2 of those things are NHL players and 2 of them are not. Montreal, I mean, in retrospect, maybe, yeah, sure, you could make the argument, but like, Kirby Dach to me was a pretty decent bet.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex Newhook is a good player, but like, what was the expectation, right? Like, to me, both of those young players, Nazar and Lekkerimäki, like, I think Nazar is a pretty decent bet to be a top 6 Swiss Army knife forward. Newhook is like a good third line, 2-way offensive leaning guy, I think. Lekkerimäki probably is a good third, maybe second line, good offensive scorer. Like they bring different things to the table, but I feel like at the end of the day, in 5-10 years, like it might come out in the wash. Granted, I will say that Montreal being last in the conference is bad. I thought they'd be better than this year, and like losing Patrick Laine so quickly, like that is awful. So yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's the end of the world. Because especially because they drafted like a quadrillion players over the last few years. Like another 2 may help, but I don't think Dak and Newhook have been that bad.
The D group's super young too, right?
And their defense is all 20 years old. Like
other than David Savard and
right.
Mike Matheson. And David Savard, we've been on record, and we don't think he's very effective. Truthfully, he's just kind of slow and gets beat a lot, like by faster players.
Dumbledore, but and it's like Hogwarts, but there's no teachers. Dumbledore and Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger, they're all, you can see it. You could be wizards one day, but Dumbledore can't do it all himself.
Where are you going with this?
I don't know. I lost my. I'm done. We can call it a day.
But yeah, I think it's a lot of defense, like defensive problems.
Oh, their defensive metrics they're getting better, but if you look at the numbers, they're bad. It's bad.
And it's also been stated by viewers that they're switching defensive systems. So they're in the middle of a transition that way. I don't know. I wouldn't, if I was a Habs fan, which I will never be.
I'm not panicking.
I'm not scared.
No, I'm not panicking at all. It sucks. It's not fun to be bad. And I think the expectation was a little higher than this. And I mean, it's only been 16 games. You got 65 more games, 75 more games. No, 65. 66.
Yeah.
You got a lot more time to go, and you never know, right? Like tables have turned for teams after New Year's all the time. It happens a lot. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Nashville last year is a great example. I mean, now Nashville's the worst team in the league, it looks like, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I was not expecting that, but
no.
I also should have thought about, maybe they're bringing in all these shooter type players and not bringing in the biggest play driver guys. So I should have thought about that. But anyways,
if only they had Teddy Stiga on the team, he could drive
in
play.
a little bit. In a little bit, they will. But
I know.
Now that I think about it, bringing in Marchessault and Stamkos just kind of seems redundant. Like they kind of fill the same role.
Yeah, it's not looking so good right now.
But I love me some Roman Josi. That guy's awesome.
Oh, sure. Roman Josi's fun. Brady Shea has been fun. I always liked him. They're playing They're playing Michael McCarron. I did not realize that. That's one I didn't expect. Boy. Anyway, whatever. Poor Nashville Predators. It's really too bad.
And I like their staff too. Like I like Barry. I love Barry Trotz. I really like Andrew Brunette. It's weird. They should be better. And honestly, I think they will be.
And to be honest, like they did kind of say that this kind of thing might happen. Like not this bad, but I thought that part of the Barry Trotz taking over thing was like, we're going to draft a lot. Like they might be doing the thing that Pittsburgh is doing where it's like, we're going to keep trying to be competitive, right? Like we're going to bring in big names and we're going to try to win, but we're also trying to draft a lot and replenish and whatever, right? Like it's like not letting the team sort of become sort of stripped down right to the bones, and I don't know, like if I'm a Nashville fan, like it's not the end of the world. I mean, it sucks. It's underwhelming and you hope it gets figured out, but like they weren't great for large stretches of last season either. Then the U2 thing happened. But we'll see what happens. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they'll come together eventually and it'll all be fine. I have really liked Ben Kindle lately. I have him above Roger McQueen at the moment. What are your thoughts? I mean, I like the take. I loved Ben Kindle, the game I saw of him, the game I tracked of him. He was also great. He is way better than I thought he was going to be going into this season, coming out of the Linka tournament. I have really liked Ben Kindle. Like if you like guys like Easton Cowan, I feel like Ben Kindle is right up that alley, and I could easily see Ben Kindle being higher on my list by the end of the year. He's in my first round. McQueen, I just haven't seen it with him really. He's big and there's potential, but God, Ben Kindle moves the puck so well. He sees the ice so well. He gets into space so well. and he just does so many things so well that I don't know. Maybe I feel like they can end up close. I feel like I might still lean McQueen, but I don't hate it. I don't hate the take.
I hate what he says after, so we don't.
Yeah, tell AJ that Lysell isn't an NHL player. I mean, he isn't. It's not a. It's not, a factual statement.
Yes, he's not, but he should be.
Yeah. Someone mentioned Luca Cagnoni for a game tape thing. So yeah, I will put him on the list. We'll do a forward next, but then we'll do Cagnoni in 2 weeks.
What'll probably end up happening is we'll just go down the list of what prospect is on a big market team that we can do, because
that
at
everyone's
some level,
talking about.
We have to get views, ladies.
Nikita Artemonov. How's he doing? Is he still
that was the one you were talking about. I remember now.
Maybe we'll do Artemonov.
I think that was the one you pitched a while back as the next one.
Yeah. Because is he still a point a game in the KHL? Because that would be fun.
I wouldn't know.
22 points in 27 games. He's on pace for a 33 goal season. That is wild. So yeah, maybe we will do Nikita Artemonov next. Yeah, that would be fun. I can blast that off. He's a fun one. Also, shout out to Vladimir Drevechky playing his first SHL game apparently today. 16 years old, turning 17 in December. Good player out of Czech Republic, already in the SHL. So good for him. That just popped up in the chat. No Malcolm Spence. Yeah, there was no Malcolm Spence on Pronman's list. I mean, again, when I watch Malcolm Spence, I don't see that elite level player that was advertised, but I see an NHLer there, so I'm surprised he wasn't ranked, but I'm not surprised he wasn't in that top 15, top 20. Is this the year to not trade down at the draft, or does the rule stay the rule? If you don't have a top 15, trade down. That's a good question, honestly.
It's dependent. Everything depends on what you're trading down for, right?
Right.
And where you are.
I would probably want to keep my pick up until maybe the top 20, maybe top 15. Yeah, like usual, guys like Cole Reshny. But I feel like there's risk with Reshny. Reshny's another maybe a boomer bust guy that we could throw in there as well. But would I pass up an opportunity to draft a Blake Fiddler or a Braden Coots or a Logan Hensler to then trade down and maybe get a Cullen Potter and a Zeb Lindgren or Ben Kindle, Cam Reed? Honestly, maybe, but it is still very early for me to really know where the delineations are. I think I have a decent idea right now. Up until my first round, I feel pretty good about right now. I want to do another pass of these guys before I put out a ranking of these players, but it also depends on what you're getting in the package, right? If I'm trading down in the first round from 11th overall this season and I'm getting maybe, let's say it's the package that San Jose got for the picks that became Connor Geekie. If I'm getting 27th overall this year and I can make that pick Cullen Potter and I get 35th overall and I can make that pick, I don't know, Zeb Lindgren or something, or even Cam Schmidt. Let's say Cam Schmidt slips out of the first round and I can land Cullen Potter and Cam Schmidt in the same draft, if that's what I think is going to happen. And then I get another second round pick in the middle of the second round and I take LJ Mooney. I take a swing on LJ Mooney, and instead the team that takes the picks goes and takes Logan Hensler. Then yes, I'm making that trade. I will do that every day. So it really depends on the package and what you're getting and what the landscape looks like at the draft and who teams want. But I mean, in this year's class, if I have a top 5 pick, I'm not moving at all. Maybe top 10, I'm not moving at all. I'm keeping it. But beyond that, we can chat, we can talk, but that's typical in the NHL draft. Generally teams don't trade top 10 picks anyway. They'll use them. They'll jump the line and pick who they want just to get their guy a lot of the time. Jimmy Lombardi and Brady Martin thoughts. So I have a game of Jimmy Lombardi to go through soon. I know he had a big night the other night, but I will get to him. He's been a lower priority for me, but he's on the list for soon. Brady Martin, I feel like I'm not a huge fan of him. I feel like the physicality in his game will matter, but to me, he's not the most finesse player really at high speed because there also isn't a lot of speed in his game, but he's physical, and there's that to fall back on. I just feel like there's not a whole lot of diversity in his game. And for me, I'm going to take obviously a bunch more looks at him before the end of the year, but he's a second rounder to me right now. That's kind of where I have him. And he could be like a complimentary thing. The next comment, or the next one after the next one, about Bill Zonin, like I feel like Bill Zonin is more of the type of guy that I would want if I have that type of player. Like he's bigger, faster, definitely a physical player. Like I would definitely be getting in his ear to be that really, push the envelope, push guys around. He's a good forechecker. He does a lot of things really good. He does a lot of things really well that I've really, really enjoyed. So we'll see what happens. But Brady Martin, it's just been a situation where it's like I can see the appeal here and I can see an NHL player here, but I've liked this guy and this guy and this guy a little better and what they bring to the table. But if you want physicality and you want intensity and guys who are willing to throw the body, then he's one of them in my experience.
Why is every hockey player with the name Brady, like why are they all physical guys, man? Like what is it?
I don't know.
Brady Cleveland,
I don't know.
Brady Tkachuk, Brady Martin. What is this?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Also,
there's got to be some sort of psychological thing about that.
I don't think anybody has a better name than Bill Zonin. That is the best name, just bar none so far that I've seen.
I mean, I'm Uncle Bill, and I'll vibe with anyone named Bill. Let's go.
I don't care about that. Me. I like the Zonin.
I know you don't care.
That's what's cool.
Yeah, Zonin. Bill Zonin.
That's so sick. Your last name's Zonin.
Yeah,
awesome.
That sounds like a CEO of a 1990s tech company or something.
It's like a final boss level name. Like that's
I am Zonin. Okay, I went back to see what you had to say about Michkov, and you like the 5 guys ahead, and that's fair. I think for the Calder Trophy, that would probably favor the production and role he has. True, fair. I just think that there are better players, right? Like, I get it. Like, there are biases out there that will put players on a Calder ballot. Fair enough. And like I said, he very easily could end up on mine. I've just really liked Jackson Blake, and I've really liked Max Siplikov, and Michkov probably would be my number 6 or probably my number 6. I don't, because I thought Evanson would be 7, but Evanson is barely ineligible. So too bad.
It's also Will's ballot. He doesn't have to argue for if Will wanted to, he could. Who's an obscure player that's doing terrible? Like you could put whoever you wanted on there because it's a personal thing. It doesn't have to make sense.
No. Stankoven number 1 by leaps and bounds. Oh my God. Sorry, I just got a message from the Taylor Swift situation, and the lineup to get in is it's like the president is speaking. Well, it was like maybe a Barack Obama maybe is speaking. It's crazy. It's pretty wild.
Anyway, I'll deal with that later. Blue Jays way to Taylor Swift way for
I know
the days she's gonna be here. That's so ridiculous.
Hey man, it's a big deal. There's going to be a lot of money made. The amount of money that it's cost to probably do that is probably being made up in taxes and sales taxes, I guess the Ontario government gets sales
too.
taxes.
Like I think
hotels here are crazy now. Like this weekend, hotels are like $1,200 a night.
Wouldn't know. Live in the city.
Good for you.
For free.
Yeah. Would Simon Wong even make the USHL Lincoln or Oshawa's top 6 as he is now? Maybe. I mean, I feel like he could make Lincoln for sure and be like a depth guy. Oshawa is a good team. That's a tricky one. That's trickier. But I also feel like it doesn't really matter. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere because his mom owns the team. And so I don't know. But I can't wait to see him again live. It's going to be fun, but boy, yeah, I don't know. I didn't think he was amazing in the game I tracked. Thoughts on Sacha Boumediene? He's fine. I didn't see much of a play driver there in college hockey. Obviously he's young. Him and Colin Potter are the 07s this year. I like Potter a lot more, but he just seemed like a perfectly fine, safe, stable guy. He 8 minutes. He moved the puck okay, but wasn't amazing. He was losing some defensive battles, not amazing on transitions defensively. It was fine, but not amazing. Did Eric Nilsson make his Allsvenskan debut? Yes, he did. He played yesterday. I'm not sure if he played much in the way of minutes. I think it was like one of those I played 30 seconds kind of games. But hopefully hopefully it's the sign of good things to come for him because I'm glad he's there.
Substitution forward, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Thoughts on Jake O'Brien's recent stretch and what his upside is? I love the playmaking. Yeah, I mean, that is his hallmark. He's a really smart puck mover. He sees the ice really well, reads play really well. To me, it's just a matter of like, what is that style of player in the NHL or in the NHL? Like I look at him and I go, he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's 6'2", but like he's not very built out yet. He is very young, but I do wonder. I'm not totally sold on, like, I thought him at the Holinka, you saw a bit of the issues where faster players, more physical players can kind of get the upper hand on him. I think he's a first rounder to me. Like, he's a good sort of maybe a middle six, third line possession center type player at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, it just feels like a guy who will make the NHL because of pedigree, 6'2", center, Ontario boy from Toronto, smart, does a lot of things perfectly well. So to me, those are kind of lower on my priority list, but if someone were really pounding the table for him, I could be convinced because he's perfectly fine. Brady Cleveland, the GOAT. Yeah, fair.
Funny that came up.
Yeah. Brady Cleveland, man, this is a hoot. Does Lane Hudson have more of a chance to win the Calder compared to his point production because he's a defenseman and it's harder to produce and play 20 minutes per game like he does? I mean, I think maybe
he does. He has a better chance to win because he plays in Montreal too. Like that.
Yes,
matters.
That's what I was going to say. Is I think there is a bias towards who plays for bigger market teams in front of national audiences more often, right? Like who gets the limelight more, right? It's gonna bias people towards him. Well, yeah, he's very good. He's been very good, playing 25 minutes a night.
And I think the thing you can take away from Logan Stankoven is he plays on a great team. Yeah. They're a great team without him. They're a better team with him, but they're a great team without him, right? Yep. And Montreal is not a good team, as we've outlined before. Right now,
it's not looking great.
Lane Hudson's been the bright spot. Him and Cole Caulfield have been the bright spots of Montreal this year. I think Cole Caulfield's won off the goal scoring lead, actually.
Right.
I think William Nylander might have it.
I think he does.
It's just awesome.
Oh man, William Nylander, man. Well, I've said it for years. One of my favorite players in the entire NHL, and doesn't get the credit he deserves.
But we won't go into the Leafs during the Habs any more than we have to.
Yeah,
here. I think that Lane Hudson has a really, really good shot at it.
Nylander is tied, by the way.
Okay.
12 goals. Caulfield has 12 and 16. So does Draisaitl and Reinhart.
So it's a four-way tie, right?
Yeah, per game, it looks like Kucherov, but yes, he is 12. And 4 other guys have 12. All right.
So yes, Lane Hudson Calder. All right. That's how we'll close it out because we talked about the Leafs in the middle of it.
Yeah. Also, A+ username, by the way, Shaquille Oatmeal. I love it.
Awesome.
A+. Is Eric Nilsson the Brindley Trikazov Whitelaw / Stiga of the year? Which is the guy you would pound the table to draft him? Yeah. I mean, he probably is that. I would say Cullen Potter. The guys this year for me that I really, really like relative to everyone else are Cullen Potter, LJ Mooney, Eric Nilsson, Zeb Lindgren for different reasons. I really like Conrad Fonderk. He's been really up and down in the games that I've seen, but the good stuff has been really, really good. And Arvid Drott is the other guy who I've really liked, who isn't getting a ton of attention. So to me, I mean, you kind of have to be strategic about these things. And like, when it comes time to the draft, like for me with like the team scouting thing this year, Toronto has a second and a third round pick now. And so for me, the guys that are like in order on my priority list, I'm kind of going off of central scouting as like a maybe potential range for these guys. And if Carter Bear is a B-rated guy and he's there in the second round, I will easily take Carter Bear. But if not, I would happily take Eric Nilsson in the ideally late first round or late second round. If not, LJ Mooney. If not, Ben Kindle. In that case, though, I might go Ben Kindle because Toronto has a third round pick and run the risk of maybe having an option of Nilsson or Mooney later on. I've really liked Ben Kindle this year. The team I have doesn't have any goalies right now. I mean, I don't think that's the end of the world, but if Andrianov is there in the second or third round, I could take a swing on him. And then beyond that, who knows? But like for me, considering that what matters for me is like who I would pick in my slots, Bear, Nilsson, Mooney, Kindle, Andrianov all feel like realistic options. Drott third round, maybe if he was a C-rated guy, so Drott might be there with Toronto's 5th round pick or whatever it is they have. So we'll see. But so trying to prepare for everything.
So no Cam Schmidt?
I'm just not expecting him to actually be there at like where Toronto picks in the second round.
Fair
like enough. But if he is, then yes, I would probably go that direction. I mean, Carter Bear is really good too.
It's a San Jose second round pick, right? Like who's?
Oh, is it? I thought.
I know they traded it, but whose pick did they trade? Did they trade their own, or did they trade somebody else's second round pick?
Let's see.
Because it would be early second round, very likely, if it's San Jose.
I thought it was their own second round pick.
Oh, okay. No, you're right. I'm. My apologies.
It is.
They have their own. Wait. You're right. I think they have their own. So my bad.
They have Florida's. The Florida Panthers acquired 58 in 2024 for a 2025 second and a 2024 7th. So they have Florida's second round pick.
Okay, so it's late.
So it's going to be late.
Yep. Okay. Never mind.
They have Edmonton's third that they got from San Jose in the Liljegren trade.
Oh, okay.
Right? Oh no, it's a conditional pick. It's the higher of the two, right? I think it's the higher of the two.
Anyways, I'm wrong. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, but if there was a first round pick in the question, then it might change the equation a little bit. But yes, those are guys that I've really, really liked. Nilsson is definitely one of them. I've moved him down my list a little bit since last week. Just because I think there are other players that are more sure bets that I would rather have. Opinions on Riker Lee, if you've seen him. I've seen a little bit of him, and I'm not totally sold on him. Like, he's fun, he's agile, and pretty skilled, but projecting him to the NHL, I think, is tough. Kind of like Lev Katzen, that kind of player. Like, really fun to watch, but maybe a good college player at some point, but I'm not sure about the NHL. I don't have him ranked as of right now, but I'm sure I'll have many more looks at him before the end of the year. Montreal is the biggest hockey market. If Montreal finishes top 15 or 20 and Hudson gets 15 points, you better believe he'll take the Calder Trophy. I mean, maybe. I don't know if Montreal's going to finish top 15 or top 20 in the league. But I mean, if Hudson does score 50 points and whatever, then he'll be in the conversation. It's just, I feel like also you're going to have Logan Stankoven, who's on pace for what, like 75 points this year or something.
Let me check.
And who else did I have in there? Macklin Celebrini is scoring a lot. Like, if Macklin Celebrini ends the season with like 80 points in 65 games or whatever it is, or 70 points in 66 games or whatever it's going to be, that's going to be tough to overcome. And he's been doing really well.
Is he on pace for that?
I mean, I think he's like a point a game.
Damn. Well, Stankoven's on pace for 77 currently.
Which, that's so good. Celebrini's on pace for 56. Okay, so 4 points in 5 games. But he's on pace for 42 goals. Like, if Macklin Celebrini scores 42 goals as a rookie, that's an uphill battle. But anyway, we'll see. It's still very early in the year too. There's still a long way to go. Michkov will win the Calder. I mean, maybe. What happened to Ziggy Palffy? Dude, you're talking to maybe the biggest Zygmunt Palffy fan on the planet. I don't know if you're saying anything specific about him. Like, I don't see any news when I Google his name. He kissed his teammate after scoring a goal, which I thought was hilarious at the time. The guy's a boss, though. Like, Zygmunt Palffy, honestly, swear to God, might be one of the most underrated hockey players in the NHL ever. Like, he exclusively played for bad teams. He played for the Mike Milbury New York Islanders.
Oh, no.
The early 2000s LA Kings, like before they won the Stanley Cup. And then he finished his career with the 05-06 Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins the year after the lockout. Crosby's rookie season. That was his career. Never played on a good team. And yet he scored 48 goals in 1996-97. He scored 45 goals the next season. He then scored 50 points in 50 games the next year, then a point a game with the LA Kings, then 89 points in 73 games with the LA Kings. I'm pretty sure in this season he was like 40 points ahead of the next highest scorer.
How have I never heard of this guy?
So Ziggy Palffy and Luc Robitaille both were on the same team. Robitaille had 88 points in 82 games. Zygmunt Palffy had 89 points in 73 games and was a plus 22. Outside of those two, the next highest scorer was Brian Smolinski with 59 points. They were bad. And he just, Felix Potvin in net, by the way. But yeah, I could talk about Zygmunt Palffy all day. That guy does not get the credit he deserves. He, I believe, in 96-97, he would have been right up close to the top goal scorers in the league. Yeah, he was fifth. Like, here, let me know if there's a name that feels out of place in the top 10 goal scorers in 96-97. Keith Tkachuk with 52, Teemu Selanne 51, Mario Lemieux 50, John Leclerc 50, Zygmunt Palffy 48, Jaromir Jagr 47, Brendan Shanahan 47, Peter Bondra 46, Paul Kariya 44, Brett Hull 42. You know who number 11 was? You probably can guess who number 11 was in the 1990s. Who might that have been?
Can I? I wasn't born in the 1990s.
You weren't, but you know this player extremely well. He's
Matt
bald.
Sundin?
It was Matt Sundin with 41
I was
goals.
just going to guess Matt. That was going to be the one guess I was going to have because I'm like, okay,
yeah,
it's got to be a low ball or a very low-hanging fruit one. And I've got a picture of him in my room behind me.
There you go. But that is 8 household names, and Matt Sundin at 11. And then you've got Ziggy Palffy and Peter Bondra. Keith Tkachuk that year, by the way, 52 goals in 81 games, 228 penalty minutes. That's wild. Anyway, so yes, I could talk about Zygmunt Palffy all day long. He was 5'10", right up my alley. Nobody ever talks about him. Nobody cares, but I do. And we'll add him to the list. I want to have Brad Hunt on the show, and I want to have Ziggy Palffy on the show. Those two guys, I want that. Those guys deserve some attention. And Palffy played until he was 41 in Slovakia, by the way.
Damn.
So yeah, legendary player that does not get the credit he is due. He was over a point a game in all but one season that wasn't his rookie year.
You know what's crazy?
And that was in
list?
the 90s.
I'd heard of every other player on that list other than Zygmunt Palffy until today.
Exactly. Imagine playing for the New York Islanders in the late 80s. Late 90s. The late 90s with Mike Milbury at the helm. We're going to trade Roberto Luongo. We're going to bring in Mark Parrish.
We're going to get rid of Zdeno Chara.
We're going to get rid of Zdeno Chara before he's a thing. Yeah, that'll be the day.
Who else did they have? Didn't they have Brian McCabe on that team too?
They had Brian Berard as well, who was really, or Brian Berard, who was really, really good. Yeah, they had Brian McCabe. By the way, here's another fun fact. 95-96 New York Islanders, Zygmunt Palffy, 87 points in 81 games. Travis Green, head coach, second with 70 points in 69 games. Third place, Matthew Schneider, defenseman, 47 points in 65 games. Zygmunt Palffy almost doubled up the third highest scorer on his team. The guy rules. The next year he had 90 points. Travis Green had 64.
So you are going to talk about him all day.
All day, yeah, I am. This is Ziggy Palffy. Number one.
We have 12 minutes left. Will, can you keep going?
We're done. We got to catch up here because just go look. Okay, last one. 98-99. Zygmunt Palffy, 50 points in 50 games. Next highest scorer. He was second in team scoring, playing 50 games. Robert Reichel was number one with 56 points. Terrible, awful teams. Trevor Linden was on that team, 47 points in 82 games. Zygmunt Palffy is awesome, never gets his credit. It's just incredible, and he rocks. And also 5'10". Got to re-mention that because just small kings did forever.
Will loves 5'10" people so much that he hired one.
Exactly. 10 years from now, how will you think the CHL, NCAA, and other leagues will look like? Any leagues could be in jeopardy. I think the CHL is going to become a much more marketable and entertaining product, and I feel like there are going to be some CHL teams that relocate to the States. Like I saw Ryan Kennedy post about some ideas he had. There wasn't any real news in that. He just talked to some of the commissioners and they kind of said, yeah, I mean, if there are owners in the States that want to run teams now, okay. But like if I am, say, the owner of the Val d'Or Foreur, I am either thinking of relocating or selling my team and going to like Burlington, Vermont. That was the city that was kind of put forward. I would be thinking about doing that instantly. It's just there's more money in the States than there is in rural Quebec or rural Nova Scotia, like the Cape Breton Eagles. There's just more money. And the CHL needs money. And I feel like they will have more of an eye on them. College teams will have more eyes on them. It simplifies things in a good way, I think. The USHL might be in tough. I think that's going to be a tricky one. I think it might be more of a regional league for kids that are maybe in the Midwest or on the West Coast who don't want to go too far from home and whatever. And they want to stay in the States, maybe there, because you can't put a team like Omaha in the CHL. It's just not going to work. It's just too far. But like, could the Chicago Steel become a OHL team? Sure, I could see that happening, and they have money. They've been very successful, so it's possible. But it's going to shift. But I think it's going to be better off for everybody except the BCHL, OJHL, all those junior A leagues in Canada are going to just lose the best of the best there faster. And the CHL is going to get younger, like Scott Wheeler said. And I think it's going to make the NCAA way better. I think it's going to make the NCAA way more even amongst the teams. I think it's going to be way better. It's going to be good. What did you think of Sam Walter for the US U17s? I did not write about him at all, so I didn't really notice him, honestly. Sweden did beat both Canada teams if you include pre-tournament. Okay, sure. If you include pre-tournament games, yes, but that I wasn't watching the pre-tournament games. That wasn't really the idea. Thoughts on Artur Bayanov? I don't care. Artur Bayanov.
He's saying this to David Phillips, just so people are aware. All right.
A 20-year-old, oh my God, 20 years old playing in the second division junior league in Russia. Where the hell, what is wrong with your brain? What is happening? It is impossible for the Penguins to be good without Tristan Jarry in form. Fair enough, but Joel Blomqvist is looking good. He's at least stopping pucks.
And they traded Matt Murray.
They did
get that pick and another pick, I think. It was 2 second-round picks for Matt Murray. Mm-hmm. Or something like that.
Yes.
And I think they took 2 goalies with both those picks.
Yep. Matt Murray, baby. Legend.
Hey, man. He's on the Leafs. Well,
he is. Sort of.
Goaltending depth, not a problem.
No, not at all. He's their, what, fourth string now?
Fourth string goalie.
4 games with the Marlies. Nice.
Awesome.
Well, good for him. He's he's been through it.
And he's a Cup champion, so.
Yeah.
Maybe 2-time Cup champion.
Yeah. I think I remember a tweet about Palffy with data and era-adjusted metrics and whatnot. They were gushing about how he could deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. That might have been me. I'm going to Google it.
Probably was.
Let's see. I'm almost certain that I have done this in the past. Twitter's search is so bad.
It's X, Will. X.com.
Sorry. Shout out Blue Sky, by the way. That site has really come a long ways. Okay, the search just does not work. It's not even pulling anything remotely close to Zygmunt Palffy at all. When I just search Scouching Zygmunt Palffy, it doesn't pop up. Is this it? Oh yeah, here we go. I wrote in October 2022. The tweet was the NHL. Who is your favorite obscure player of all time? And I said, am I old if I say Zygmunt Palffy? The guy was awesome. He was under a point a game once between 95 and 2006, 10th in league scoring over that period of time. Forgot about that. That's crazy. 6th in points per game amongst players who played 400 games or more. The dude played for the terrible 95 to 98 New York Islanders and led them in goal scoring by 18 to 20 goals every year. Then he went to the not so great Kings of the early 2000s and just kept scoring. He's also the team's leading scorer per game by half a point on the Slovakian World Championship roster. So yeah, that might have been me. The guy is amazing and does not get the respect he deserves. A top 4 of Misa, Hagens, Martone, Schaefer is the best top 4 of the Cap era. I mean, it's very good. It's very, very, very good.
Of the Cap era.
Yeah, I mean, the Cap era is a long, long time. I mean, I feel like 2015 was incredible.
Well, this is we're also projecting, right? That's the thing. We can say that these 4 are going, but we have 4 that went in 2015. And Dylan Strome went in 20.
Sure.
But if you take the overall top 4 talent,
McDavid, Marner, Rantanen, Eichel, Kyle Connor was in there, Matthew Barzal, Travis Konechny, that draft class, Brock Besser, Kirill Kaprizov, Rupe Hintz. That draft class was gross. Thomas Chabot. Wasn't that also McAvoy?
No, that was McAvoy was the next year because Boston screwed the pooch on all 3 of their first
they botched
picks.
it in 2015.
3 times.
Yeah, Daniel Sprong, Rasmus Anderson.
I love how you say Daniel Sprong before Rasmus Anderson. You stan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know how much you love Rasmus Anderson too.
Vince Dunn is in there.
Sebastian Aho, if you haven't said him.
Sebastian Aho. Yeah, he's number 4 in points scored for that draft class. I don't know. I feel like 2015 clears it pretty easily.
But if we're going off projected top 4, I don't know. Even still, McDavid, Eichel, that 1-2 is ridiculous. And Marner went 4, pretty sure.
It is good though. It is a really good group of players.
Even if you have Dylan Strome in that top 4, I still think the 2015 wins because you have, in my opinion, the greatest talent in hockey of all time. In Connor McDavid. That guy's ridiculous. Jack Eichel's ridiculous. Mitch Marner is very, very good. Bordering on ridiculous. Probably just is straight up ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Oh, thanks for dropping that the Leafs drafted Dermott. 1 or 2 picks before.
Oh, brother.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Kyle Dubas.
No, he wasn't in charge.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that was Mark Hunter. Yeah, Russian hockey is a deep and dangerous rabbit hole. It's true. But stay in school, David. Don't be a moron. Thoughts on Savely Luchenkov? Is that a real person? This wasn't David Phillips asking this question, so I think it's a real person. But Savely Luchenkov, who is this person? Have I seen them before?
Will watches so much hockey that he doesn't know if he's seen players. But he
a 2004 born playing for a poo-poo team in Russia who has 3 points this year in 9 games. I don't really know anything about this guy. Okay. Well, I don't know. Hope that helps. Well, I guess
that helps.
On that note, I guess we're going to call it a day. This show took leaps and bounds all over the place, but it was a lot of fun. Again, we're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link below or scan the QR code in the video window to provide a small kickback on anything you buy in the store as well. We're sponsored by Puck Preps Hockey for all your NCAA and CHL prospect needs. Of course, there's lots there from the U17s and with the upcoming changes coming to the CHL. Actually, they're ongoing with all the players leaving and going there now. We're also brought to you by Fractal Hockey Consulting, which is my business for hand-tracked targeted player analysis and recruitment packages for the NCAA Europe and beyond, with solutions for any organization's needs. And as well, you can go to scouching.ca, get access to our Discord server with exclusive prospect data, insights, and tracked data, usually locked behind Fractal Hockey, as well as subscriber-only written content and plenty of other cool stuff. You can also check out our merch store at scouchwear.com. And you can also just send us money if you want. Send us $1 million on buymeacoffee.com. And
buy me a million coffees.
Yeah, buy me a million coffees. Well, actually, with inflation, that's more like 100,000 maybe. But I'll take 100,000 coffees. I don't know. Before we go, any takes on why the Ducks have a pathetic offense?
I was thinking about it.
I've been reading the Ducks subreddit, and everybody just hates Greg Cronin, which...
Okay, cool. I don't know. I just feel like they don't draft the most fun players. And they don't have... Well, maybe not that, but like they don't have the most fun, exciting players that like really go fast, you know? Like I think they're a slow team. And
they are. Well, they're a physical team. They're slow and physical, and
that's a problem. Like they don't let where's Trevor Zegras playing on this team? I got to go look at that. It won't take me long because I'm already on Daily Faceoff. I always have that tab. I always have a tab with Daily Faceoff open. Okay, he's playing top line now. All right, good. So I just think, as you mentioned, I just think they're a slow physical team, and that's really it. Hopefully it improves, but I don't know, man.
Oof. I mean, their offense at 5-on-5 seems about league average, but their defending is brutal. Just looking at the metrics on their defense this year, and it's just brutal. So
and yes, Gudis is the captain.
But guys like, I mean, yeah, when your defense core is Zellweger, Michkov, Dumoulin, Lacombe, Fowler, Gudis, and Tristan Luneau, yeah, like that's not great. And I mean, yeah, Tristan Luneau's -5 in 6 games. Sheesh. Not ideal. But anyway, I guess that'll be it for today. Yep. We can call it a day. So thanks for joining. This was a lot of fun. This was a good one. We got lots of content coming to the channel in the next couple of days. Michael Misa is going to be making an appearance, which is really exciting.
Tomorrow, and for subs, once I'm waiting on Rayanne to send me something. And I'm calling out Rayanne. I don't care now, but I'm not really calling out Rayanne.
Yep.
But it'll be up early for you guys shortly. Hopefully it'll be up around 6 for subscribers, like who pay us, and it'll be out tomorrow for everybody else. So,
yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining. This was a lot of fun. AJ, once again, thank you very much. Any parting words before we go? Okay, job.
And Leafs for Cup, baby. Go Leafs, go. Have to
the
bring
project continues.
Have to bring it back every once in a while.
Never in doubt. After last night, never in doubt.
Never in doubt. Didn't turn it off to watch Survivor for half of it. No, didn't happen. That's not true. All right, go Leafs, go.
All right. See ya.